Well, thank you, Thelma. I mean, one of the biggest challenges is the permissive and interpretations of international humanitarian law. How it is justified. Initially, these rules were created to protect victims, to protect people in war, to ensure that the worst would not befall upon them, and to set us a amount of guidelines that would limit the effects of warfare on the populations. Now, the moment that the interpretations start to become politicized about, well, it's okay to do this because this and so are not as human as others can be, we start going down a very, very negative spiral. And this is what we try to prevent with initiatives such as the Global Initiative on IHL. It's to remind all states, all political leaders, that the rules are very clear. And they need to be interpreted with good faith, and they need to be interpreted with the aim of protecting the vulnerable population, to protecting human beings, to preserving our humanity. At the end of the day, international humanitarian law is the lowest common denominator to preserve our shared humanity.
And lastly, political commitment is the focus for today's dialogue. What does a genuine political commitment to international humanitarian law look like beyond signing treaties and making public declarations?
It's a good question, and this is what we want to see. The problem is not about not knowing the law. If you go out today in your car and you see a red light, you stop because you abide by the law. The moment you start thinking that, oh, this doesn't really apply to me because I think that I don't need to stop, I'm in a hurry, I need to get somewhere, and you set the example that it's okay to break rules because maybe you're special or because your meeting is more important than anybody else's, you start sending messages about being able to skirt laws, to bypass rules. It's the same thing with international humanitarian law. It's not that it's not known, it's not that the lawyers don't know it, it's not that the legal practitioners don't know it, it's that political leaders use it or politicize it for their own advantages. So what we need now is a reverse of this trend. It's to have those with influence, to have leadership in saying that, hey, there are rules, there are laws, they need to be respected. In South Africa, I learned about the principle of Ubuntu. Everyone is responsible for everything in front of everyone. That's the same issue. We need to look at each other, we need to watch each other and ensure that laws, you break the law, it's wrong. And I won't break the law. And if we go back into that virtuous cycle, then we can start seeing limits on the effects of war on the population. We can start seeing families be able to live normal lives or stable lives in security, having a hope for some prosperity and happiness. And we can start seeing all these effects, these economical effects that wars are having, which will never be able to be paid for or the destruction repaired. That we can start seeing less of this, that we can start seeing less people needing to flee wars, to go beyond borders to find safety, because at the end of the day, most of them are fleeing situations where they have no water, they have no food, they have nowhere to stay, and that's because of collateral effects of war and permissive interpretations of IHL.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you to have me.